It's gonna work. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. Do we have communications? We good to go? Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Spiritist Society of Virginia for the Sunday 11 o'clock meeting. And we start each meeting, as most of you all know, with an introductory message. And today's message is from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, by the Spirit Emmanuel, through the mediumship of Francisco Xavier. And it's number 69, entitled Communications. The New Testament quote that was selected was recorded by John, chapter 4, verse 1. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see if they are from God. Yes, Lucy, test the spirits. Emmanuel then wrote, when they take part in groups that communicate with the spirit world, new disciples of the gospel are usually very eager to establish clear and perfect communications with the afterlife. If they often seem to fail at this goal, if their experiments are unsuccessful, it is because that in most instances, such inquirers are far more interested in their personal self-interest than in the spirituality or in the spiritually constructive imperative. The spiritually constructive imperative. This purpose of exclusiveness opens the door wide to deceit. Malefactors with noxious instruments may pass through it and enter the sacred place because such a disciple has shut his or her eyes to the horizon of eternal truths. Beautiful and human is the strengthening of the bonds of love that unite incarnates to the loved ones who preceded them on the journey beyond the grave. But it is unacceptable for beginners to expect those who serve them as parents or siblings to intervene in their personal affairs. There will always be someone who dispenses light during gatherings of sincere individuals. However, preparations to receive such assistance cannot be organized very well by people who are often unaware of their own needs. Consequently, the apostle suggested that disciples not focus on the physical person who is speaking, but on the essence of his or her words in order to tell if the spirit visitor has really come from God. And this message, obviously, is sort of a prep for what we're going to be talking about, corrupted abilities, where we as individuals are succumb to this material plane. And we put our material interests ahead of our family members, our neighbors, other friends, other people we run into as far as the work environment is concerned, even the rest of society. And it's an easy trap to fall into because we all suffer from issues that life gives us. And why does life give us those? Because God deems that sometimes it's necessary for us to go through these little sufferings. And we know from Spiritism it could be due to past lives, but it could also be due to something we've done in this particular lifetime, which brings us back to this beginning, which is to, in their personal self-interest, more than in the spiritually constructive imperative. And of course, the spiritually constructive imperative is the afterlife, eternity. There's a little quote from the gospel. It's in the introduction, paragraph 7. It says, the constant preoccupation of philosophers, as understood by Socrates and Plato, is to take great care of the soul, less with respect to the present life, which lasts but an instant, but more with respect to eternity, as the soul is immortal. Would it not be more prudent to live our lives bearing this fact in mind? And I think that kind of sums it up.
So since we have given enough information for us to prepare, let us connect. Let us connect with the good spirits who are always prepared to guide us. Dear God, Father, Mother of all of us, we feel your presence at every heartbeat, in our perception of life. You created us for purposes that we are yet to understand. And we rejoice, for it becomes a divine adventure to find you, to know you, to feel you, and then one day to understand you. We want to surrender to your designs. For many lives we have lived thinking we are the owners of ourselves, the lords of our lives. Finally, we humble ourselves to you and recognize that we exist because of you. We are here because of you. And we will keep on living and existing because of you. No matter if we are in the flesh or not. Thank you for making us capable of thinking, of feeling, of making some decisions in our lives. May today we learn even more about other potentialities you have given us. Once we develop them, our lives transform. We pray for those who are here in two realms of life, for those who are connected to us through the internet, and those who have their names in the book of prayer. May everyone receive the treatment that they need, the help that you send their way. May they feel it. May we all feel it. Be grateful and co-create with you in greater wisdom, asking for your guidance, feeling your protection. We thank you for granting us the permission to begin this therapeutic session in your name and love, and so be it. So our children will come with Miss Paloma for an adventure with Ben Franklin, right? Okay. Is that better? Like this? It helps, right? Yeah, it's okay. Right. So interesting that today we're talking about our abilities and mainly mediumship. And our main medium, the computer, failed us. And it's just like that. When the good spirits need to deliver a message, they try one medium. If they can't do it, they try another one. So we had to change computers. Hopefully, we want to be the good mediums. Kardec asked, what is a good medium? A good medium is the one that is easy on the hands of the good spirits. We tend to think that good mediums are the ones that can foresee the future. No. Good mediums are the ones who are good in the hands, easy in the hands of the good spirits. Our computer wasn't being very good. So we had to change the computer. Thank God. We have another computer. So no matter if this is not as potent as the other one, it works. You see? Good medium is good medium. It doesn't need to be rich. It doesn't need to have titles. It doesn't need anything external but the capacity to send the message, to transmit the message. And you may think, but am I a medium? And then you think medium in the sense of being a mediumistic meeting. No. In the book, In the Realms of Mediumship, that's the book, one chapter in this book we're going to go over today. It's about our daily lives. We're going to see mediumship every day in forms that we probably have never thought of. This has been in our calendar since December because we do our program for the whole year, a year ahead. So if in any way it coincides with any experience recently, I wouldn't say it's a coincidence because it doesn't exist, but it's not on us. We don't decide it. The timing of it comes at summertime. What do we do often at summertime? What do we often do? Let's brainstorm. What do we do? Party, barbecue,
Beach.
traveling. But when we go there, what do we do there? We indulge. Eating, drinking, speaking. These are the three things we're going to talk about today. So at the beginning of the chapter, this is the scenario, just so we visualize, okay? Today there's no screen because it's our mental screen. Let us visualize. These books are so delightful, so descriptive. It's as if you're watching a movie. Andre Luiz begins by titling this chapter 15, Corrupted Abilities. So we need to ask today, do I have abilities that are corrupted, thus the reason why I may be suffering? Because I'm misusing. How can I misuse my abilities and be happy at the end of the day? Impossible. Impossible. Only those who really know how to use their abilities will be ending their days at peace. He begins by saying, night was falling. After the hot day, that's in Brazil, but let's say it's here too. People were out on the street looking for cooler air. In keeping with our work plan, see, the good spirits, they are not aimless, like, oh, let's just browse around and see who we can help. You know? No, they already have a goal. They come for a purpose. They had a plan. Only people who are unaware go out without knowing where to go. Oh, where you go? I don't know. Anywhere. Like anywhere where. That's terrible. We shouldn't do this. We have to have a good goal in mind when we're home or when we're leaving. Staying at the couch and having no goal is a no-no. Why? We'll see. We were headed for another spiritist center with the mentor Olus when loud shouting grabbed our attention. So they had a goal. But in between, they heard a shout. 2 policemen were hauling an elderly man away from a cheap bar. He was deplorably drunk. The wretch was shouting and cursing in protest. And then Aulus said to us, just look at our poor brother. And since we did, it wouldn't be long before he was put in the police car, we paused to observe. Our poor friend was embraced by a spirit of the darkness, as if a strange octopus were absorbing him. So they were seeing the man who was drunk, and every time, 100% of the times in which we engage in any type of drug addictive behavior, because alcohol is a drug, we are not alone. And the spirits who are with us are not happy spirits. Octopus, because why does he say an octopus and not a wolf and not a bear, not a dog, nor a cat? Why octopus? Because an octopus has things that he, right? Yeah. Stays with you, vampirizing you. Make no mistake, this is reality. It seems like fiction, but actually it's reality. Rarely we drink and we feel wonderful. Maybe for a little while, and then later the aftermath is terrible. Though Spiritism doesn't prohibit anything, but it teaches us, and it's our choice. Absorbing the man, we could see right away the intoxication, that the intoxication has gripped both of them because they were completely symbiotic, displaying the same disturbance. So we tend to think, oh, the drunk person is a victim. No, they are just alike. We're just alike. We like the same things. And we're just in the same mental state, in the same intoxication. A few moments later, the car's horn blew hurriedly and our observations were cut short. Okay, so in this chapter, there are many scenarios, okay? This is one. The man who was put out of the bar, sent away. End the scenario. Then, Mentor Olo says that scene would have offered a valuable lesson. And then they say, okay, so let us then go into the bar. Do we have good spirits in the bar? But don't think we're going to go there for them. Oh, let me go there just for them. No, don't. Should we run away? Oh, Vanessa, but you know my work, we have happy hours that are not actually happy. Happy hours are not happy at all. It's so sad. I remember many happy hours I had to attend without drinking. And I would look at my friends, colleagues, neuroscientists who study the brain and know that we daily go to the bench and dehydrate the tissues that we're going to study in an alcohol series. They know that alcohol dehydrates. We study about the effects of alcohol in the brain, and yet we have happy hours every Friday. It shows how incoherent we are. And I could look at the people's faces and say, yeah, we understand. We want to be together, but it's not so easy because it would be much easier if we could be together without all this alcohol. But then people have so many defenses that don't allow them to communicate. So they have to lift it up. With alcohol, it's easier. That's what they think. It's just an illusion. They enter the bar to help. And now we're going to see two scenarios. One that they describe, the environment's emanations produced an indefinable sense of discomfort. Huddled around the smokers and drinkers were sad, discarnate spirits in a state of longing. Didn't we study it on Friday about melancholy? There we go. There are many spirits who are discarnated, who are around us, who are feeling just like that. And they connect with us. Before I pass the word to Daisy, who will lead us into the first scenario, and then we'll come back for the second scenario, I remember when I was in England for a spiritist event with a group of physicians and scientists, and after the event, we had a reservation at a restaurant. We sat at a special corner because they had it pre-reserved for so many people who would be together. When we sat down and we were waiting for things to come, I was observing the environment on the other side because they had a bar as well at some other end. It was a large restaurant. And in front of me, on the other side, there were two tables for two people. And I saw this woman and a man, and at the chair with this woman and man, they were drinking alcohol. There were certain equipment I can't describe, through which some spirits will come and suck their vitality. And I was shocked when I saw it. And then Mentor Joseph said, just wait for the next couple to come. So they left. And then I said, but what if it is somebody who's not going to drink? They say, no, people don't sit at any of these tables by chance. You think you sit at a place, a restaurant, etc., anywhere you want? That's what you think. That's why when we go out, we need to pray. When we are at a restaurant, pray for the people who are cooking. Pray for those who are delivering the meal. Pray for those who are inside the restaurant. And pray when you sit at your table, just like when you go to a hotel room. Pray when you go to a hotel room, because you think you're there and it's clean spiritually. Oh no. There was a time in which Divaldo Franco told us he came to a hotel room. It was a hotel room that people used to go, and many people do this. They go to hotels to have sex, and usually not with their loved ones, with somebody else. And it stays, and the spirits who are vampirizing stay there. So he came and he saw the sluggish, slimy spiritual environment. His spirit mentor, Joana de Angelis, said, don't sit at the table, at the bed. Sit on your luggage till morning when people are going to pick you up for your talk. Because you will help by reading the gospel throughout the night. We have stories and stories and stories of Raul Teixeira and Divaldo Franco and others. But back to the England restaurant, the next couple that sent precisely, one left, the table was empty for a while. Next, the new woman comes and sits exactly where the other woman was, and the man where the man was. And the spirits, shh. And I was like, Mentor Joseph, are we safe here at all? Said, keep praying, keep focusing. How many times I've seen Divaldo Franco say, I prefer to eat at home than at a restaurant. Because it's full of spirits who don't know what they are doing. So we have to pray. They entered the bar. and they see a scenario that is mind-blowing. Daisy is going to describe a little bit for us, right?
So friends, let us continue projecting the scenario that is our everyday lives, right? That we see. As Vanessa mentioned to us, we're at work, coworkers come, let's go to a happy hour, let us enjoy, it's summer, right? So this is the scenario. They walk to the bar, and as Vanessa described, the spiritual scenario was very disturbing. They said that among the smokers and the drinkers, there were sad, discarnate spirits in a state of longing. So why? We might be asking, how does that happen? We're here today with discarnate. A lot of people say, oh, when I discarnate, I want to go to a spirit colony like No Solar, right? Who doesn't want to go to No Solar? But how come? How can we determine that? Why were those spirits then? So Andre Luiz continues and describes. Some of them found happiness and nourishment by inhaling mouthfuls of the smoke blown into the air, still warm from the lungs that had exhaled it. Others were inhaling the breath of impenitent alcoholics. So it's a vampirizing process, as Vanessa described. Those who discarnate are still very dense. Yes, we say from our mom's house that we want to go to No Solar, but in our day-to-day lives, our choices, this is what's going to determine where we will go. So those who were there, that's what they like, that's what they enjoy. So although they were discarnate, and some, if not most of them, sometimes don't even realize they are discarnated. But they are attracted to what they think brings them, brings them nourishment and happiness. Andre Luiz continues, and the mentor says, many of brothers and sisters, upon leaving their physical bodies, attach themselves with such delirium to the sensations of the physical experience, and they cling. So the claws that with the octopus, they cling to incarnates who are temporarily imbalanced in the unpleasant habits that they have surrounded to. So that's the scenario, friends. We learn in Spiritism that we are never alone. So every time we enter a restaurant, a bar, an environment, we need to think, what type of spirits are here? Because this is exactly the scenario that we're describing. Yes, we're not saying we're going to have to go to a restaurant, have a meal, but as Vanessa said, what is our mindset? Are we then thinking, oh, yes, I worked so hard today. I'm here to enjoy and have fun. And we start to indulging in the pleasures of the physical body thinking, I deserved it. But what type of spirits would be with us? Those unbalanced spirits. And they use us to truly vampirizing ourselves, getting our energy out. How many people you hear, oh, I'm just going to have one glass of wine. And then they are there talking. And when they realize, they look at the person or the group of friends like, oh no, we drink the whole bottle. How come? We were going to have just one glass. Why, friends? Because we're not alone. In another book that we're not studying today, Sex and Life, there is a scene where someone is there drinking, I'm just going to have one glass of whiskey. And we see the vampirizing spirit there. And then a new spirit come and say, go away, now it's my turn. And then he whispers in the ears of the incarnate and say, come on, you deserve it. Have another glass, pour another glass for yourself. So that shows us that those who are there are using us. But as Vanessa mentioned, we're not victims. We choose. They connected because we opened the door for that connection. So Andre Luiz and Hilario, they were perplexed. They were puzzled. They want to learn more. And they asked the mentor, but why immerse themselves in such a manner in pleasures of this sort? So he asked, why? When the mentor explains, while life began, death will continue. These individuals, when they were incarnate, they had their minds focused on the lower appetites of the world, feeding on emotions that place them in the victinius of animality. And he continues saying, in spite of having attended places of worship regularly, they were unconcerned with the principles of faith. So they are day-to-day lives. You say, oh, but these spirits who discarnate, they never attended a place of worship. They didn't know. No, he says, yes, they did go maybe to a church, to a temple, whatever form of religion. But they were there just to check the box. Because in their day-to-day life, what were they? They were focused on the lowest appetites of the world. So that's why we say we discarnate. We're not going to, from one day to the other, ascend and go to a high colony. We're going to stay connected to those places and those things that we put as priorities in our lives. And then he continues to explain, they believe that life should be the worship of undignified satisfactions and the victory of the cunning and the strong. But then the life comes and death calls them, and then they find themselves in the spiritual realm. But what? They are interested in only places where they can nurture their particular illusions. So that is the scenario, friends. And then it comes. So we are here picturing the scenario, right? They're there. The spirits are there. So then the question is for all of us. Okay, now we understand the mechanism. We understand that we open the doors. We connect. We make the choice. When we have one glass, when we think it's just one cigarette. And nowadays we have to pay attention because people say, oh, I don't smoke cigarettes, but they are using electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes. And science shows to us that they are actually worse for our health than regular cigarettes. There are chemicals that the companies don't even disclose. They're putting those cigarettes to do the flavoring, and they're advertising it to youth to make it more approachable. But they are even worse for our health. So they say, okay, now we understand. But the question is, for all of us, right, friends? And we're bringing, Andre Luiz brings us this scenario, not for us to feel guilty. Because if we haven't done this on this life, oh, for certain, we have done this plenty of previous lives. We just need to read our history books, right? But this is not for us to feel guilty, but for us to understand the mechanism. And now we know. So the question is now, how will they ever change? How will we change, and how will the discarnates change? That is the key question. Because we go there, we get drunk, we wake up the next day. What is the first thing the person says after they had a night of partying? They say, oh no, I'm never going to do that again. And then next weekend, what happens? Or even the next day, they're there again. And then it's a cycle, right? So that's why we want to know, how are we going to change? And the mentors explains, there will be a day, the day will come. The day will come for all of us. We know we're progressing. When nature itself will empty their cup, there are thousands of process of readjustments in the infinite universe where the Lord's design are fulfilled. So there are so many different ways that God shows us the way. They're gonna list some of them. Affliction, disenchantment, fatigue, tedium, suffering, imprisonment. Okay, the list is big. And they say here, it's like a 3 dot, it continues on. They didn't even include the whole list for us, but we know none of them are happy. Do they say, oh yes, that will one day they will come and feel enlightened and they will change? No. Because we know, friends, either we go through the love route or life will come and say suffering. That's how life pushes us to change. And they're saying, yes, there will a day that they feel enough is enough. How? Afflictions will come, suffering will come. They will realize that that doesn't bring them happiness. Because they go there, they have fun, they go home, they go to work, and then they continue feeling that empty. And then they need to go to another happy hour to fill that void. And then the next day, the same thing. So how are we going to fill that void, friends? How? That is the question. Not by, it's what John read right at the beginning. Not by thinking of the material life, but truly focus on our spiritual selves. Thinking ahead. Think about our abilities that we can use not to corrupt themselves, but to the good. Because if not, what will be the consequence? Because Andre Luiz asks more. Everything indicates that these unfortunate spirits won't tire the insane pleasures anytime soon. So he already see it. It's not going to be easy. And the mentor says, I agree. But in the meantime, the law can lead them to the regenerative prison. These are the words of the mentors, friends. What is this regenerative prison? Andre Luiz asks, how so? What is that regenerative prison? And then the mentors explains, there are dolorous reincarnations that entail a tremendous expiatory struggle for souls mired in addiction. Okay, so that is the result. Not because God is evil, God is punishing us. No, we are reaping what we sow ourselves. So those spirits, they're gonna then reincarnate, and they will have to go through that regenerative prison. He lists for us Down syndrome, hydrocephalus, paralysis, blindness, secondary epilepsy, severe mental impairments, birth defects, and many other anguishing but necessary afflictions that act on the behalf of the imbalanced mind from the moment of birth. So now we understand better, friends. And that's okay. It's not for us to feel guilty because we might have people in our lives, maybe our children who will be like that, but we will be there to help. But we know the consequences for ourselves. Most of the time, such curative processes provide good results through they are obligatory trials that they have to suffer. Again, two roads, friends. We can choose to love, to be easy on the ends of God, or life will come and will push us through suffering. And then we will end this part of the chapter before Vanessa brings us the next case. Because Andre Luiz, like all of us, they still have so many questions. They say, but what if our incarnate brothers and sisters, visibly immersed in dissipation, resolve to reconsider their pathway? Okay, that is the question we all want to know. We don't want to wait for the next life. We don't want to come and have to go through those regenerative prisons. Now we know, how can we change right now? Is it possible to change right now, to choose better? That is the question we want to know. Well, he says, if that happened, if they decided to change in this life, they would gain time. They will not only recover themselves, but they will help the discarnates. Because the discarnates that follow us, they see us changing, and they started to change. It's not where we're going to shoo them away. No, they're going to change too, because they're children of God. But how can we do it? He says, using the lever of the will, we can achieve true miracles. Will, friends, in the book Thought and Life by Emmanuel, is in the chapter 2, we learn that our mind, there are several departments of creativity. There are so many different departments that take care of our lives. But then they call the cabinet of the will. Our will is the decisive factor. That's the words of Emmanuel. If we choose, we can make it happen. It depends on us. It doesn't depend on the environment to change, for us to change. It depends on us to change, but it doesn't depend on anything externally. It's our will. How we strengthen our will? We listen to some Spiritist podcasts, and they talk a lot about using our will, but we need to strengthen it. And the only way they say we strengthen our will is by doing the good, by helping others, by being altruistic. If we continue just thinking about ourselves, our will be very weak. It will be very hard to change. But they say, to do so, however, they would have to make a heroic effort. It's not easy, friends. It's not impossible. But they're saying we need to strengthen our will. We need to choose better. Because now we know science shows the effects of drinking, of smoking, of overeating. We have the science, Spiritist comes, bring the spiritual aspects, it complements it. So now we have the instruction, but we need to fortify our will to make better decisions, to use our abilities, not to corrupt themselves, not to enter in those activities to harm our physical body and we discarnate sooner. We can use our time more wisely. We can make better choices. It is possible, but it depends on our will and our choices. So now we'll pass it back to Vanessa so we can continue in studying this scenario as we have another scenario that they're going to study at that same environment.
Okay, the second part of this chapter talks about the corrupted abilities, right? At this point that Daisy describes Andre Luiz and his friend Hilario are asking, but they are in perfect communion, the discarnates and the incarnates who are drinking and smoking and doing things together. Is this not mediumship? Is this not mediumship? Yes, it is. But not the good mediumship. So Mentor Olo says, yes, without a doubt. The mediumistic abilities are there. They are abilities that the incarnates and discarnates can use either for their benefit or to their harm. Being a medium doesn't mean that the soul is gifted with privileges or achievements. We often meet persons who are greatly blessed with the gift of mediumship, but who are controlled and subjugated by dark and morally delinquent spirits with whom they are perfectly attuned, dwelling in scandal and trouble instead of spreading the good. In our families, a relative who is not well, because the relative is a medium, and sometimes knowing that they are mediums or not. And they decide to wake up and go to sleep thinking of others, talking about others, blah, blah, blah. So who are the spirits who will be with them? The good spirits. Of course, the good spirits are always with us, but we can feel it because we are in a different frequency. Our Wi-Fi is different. And then wherever we go, we create disaster, as Mentor Aldos is saying. Instead of going there and help, it's one disaster after another. We became mediums of the forces of darkness. That happens in our families more often than we imagine. Right? Family reunions. People gathering together. And then there's always that relative that is always speaks nonsense. Right? That drinks more. That is, or that relative that says, I don't want to be here with everybody, but he or she is not far away, enveloped in the clouds of goodness. Still being a medium of depression, of sadness, of whatever not good is. So he's saying to us that we're mediums. Everybody's a medium. Go to the Medium's book by Kardec. Anyone who feels a little bit of these things that the eyes cannot see, medium, everybody is. There are those who are more sensible than others. But we need to educate it. We don't develop mediumship, we educate like intelligence. We have our intellectual intelligence, we have our emotional intelligence, we have our spiritual intelligence. Sometimes our lives are not on track because we're only taking care of one side of our intelligence, but we're not educating our emotional intelligence. We're not educating our spiritual intelligence. And then we feel handicapped. Talking about ability, as he wraps up that conversation, he tells Hilario and Andre Luiz, look at the other scene. So he brings the camera. I can almost imagine when we're going to have this movie. And then the other scenario. They look at a man. Now, we have social media, so this is very important for us. At the time when this book was written, there was no social media. But now there is. So we can see this man that they're going to describe just like us when we're posting, okay? Sharing. Always glanced at some nearby reserved rooms as if we were familiar with them. As if he were. So he was a spirit that was always helping out. The Batman of the spiritual realm. Imagine fixing his gaze on a certain door, he invited us to go in. We followed close behind. At a table well provided with fine cognac, a young man was smoking heavily under the control of a spirit whose repulsive appearance was worthy of pity. The man was writing and writing. In this case, he was writing with a pen. But imagine, we're always posting and sharing and posting and sharing, right? There you go. And he says, let's observe. The young man's brain was drenched in a dark, pasty substance that flowed from the hands of the pitiful brother entwining him. What was happening there? When you post something on your social media, who is posting it? You or somebody else? Creepy, huh? When I get my phone and I say, I'm going to write this email, I'm going to write this post, I'm going to share this. Who is doing this with us? And even when we're reading it, because there are spirits who are close to us, they want to see criminal headlines. They're like, come on, let's go to that newspaper. Come on. Because they are feeding themselves too. You think you're watching and reading TV or social media alone? Mm-mm. They were full partners in the authorship of the written material. In science, we talk about authorship. Who is the senior author? Who is the first author? In this case, both are responsible for what they are writing. The duo didn't notice us. So see, the good spirits are around, but they are in a different Wi-Fi. In this case, says Mentorolus, our brother is skilled medium, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know. His brain cells are fully controlled by the wretched instigator of cruelty under our observation. He's linked to the spirit's imagination and assimilated its ideas, yielding to its dark purposes through the principles of magnetic induction. Because the young man wants to write something dreadful, he has found someone that fortifies his mind and helps him accomplish it. The plug. Is he a victim? No. This spirit is with him because also he wants to hit the headlines by bringing something that is tragic. He's about to write a lie. Like we see in all these magazines and programs. People who want to be happy, but they take their jobs to sland others. There are magazines just to do that. And we feel sorry for them because they are creating storms in their very lives. But you may say, but Vanessa, I'm not a journalist. I don't do this. Well, now we are, because we have social media. We became journalists. Even in WhatsApp, in our family group, everywhere. There, we're creating news. I remember when a family member sent me a video from Brazil. Vanessa, did you see this? Canada is now communist. And I said, where? Which part of Canada is that? Look at this video. I said, Mama mia. People are creating lies and lies after lies. And I say, just telling you it's not true. I'm not going to go there and say this, that, and that. It's not true. But then if this person is sending to other people who don't know of anything, then we create misinformation. And that's the world we're living in. People became this medium of the forces of darkness who do not want the earth to progress. There are spirits who refuse the truth. Says Mentor Aulus, they don't want the truth. They want to stay where they are, and they don't want people to know of the truth. They don't like the truth. If you go to chapter 5 of the Gospel According to Spiritism by Kardec, items 14 to 17, talks about suicide and madness. It says, those who are materialistic and propagate materialism, they are doing a disservice to society. They are poisoning people's minds, creating in them discouragement and madness. And how do we behave before people who are materialistic? We're indulgent, right? We're like, yeah, don't talk to God to them. Because we think we're guilty, right? Talking about God. They are guilty for propagating materialism. Because by propagating materialism, they are poisoning society, says Kardec in the Gospel According to Spiritism. They are poisoning the minds of young children and adolescents who think, if life is not good, get out of here. And if not through killing themselves directly, they go and kill themselves indirectly by going to drugs, sex, la 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 la, whatever else there is out there, craziness. Skydiving, dangerous, risky sport activities that we think, oh man, that person is so courageous. No, that person is crazy.
A friend of ours is associated with it. She texted my wife this morning, last night. The lady was skydiving. She had a heart attack while she was skydiving. She didn't die then, but she went to the hospital and died of a heart attack.
Unfortunately, she's considered a suicide in the eyes of the spirits. Thank you for sharing. Because whenever we are doing, we should tell our children, right? Now in athletic places, gyms, they have rock climbing. It's safe because they put the harness and everything. But it's like, why do you want to risk your life like that? Why? To have an accident and then boom? And then say, oh, I can't walk anymore because I was just playing rock climbing. Why? Just exercise in some other safer way. We're not checking out. We're actually reasoning what we're doing. People can use drugs all they want, but some people, they use it once and they die. What if it's your case? You're considered to be a suicide. I know the truth is brutal, but it's very liberating. This man he wants to be popular by bringing tragic news, and he is sowing with his hands and the hands of the spirit who is telling him to slander a girl and a family problem. Doesn't matter the story at this point. If you want, you can go to the book, but just to cut it short. The spirit who is with him has a story from previous lives with the girl. The girl is supposed to go through this trial in life. But this man is becoming the medium of this tragedy. Andre Luiz and Hilario ask, are they going to succeed in creating problems for her? And Aulus says, who knows? Who knows? But at the end of it all, a lesson for us, why is he saying this? Because in our posts, if we share misinformation, No to vaccine. The other day, a friend came to me and said, I think I'm sick because of the vaccine, but I have COVID too. And I started having fatigue and brain fog and this. And I said, look, before vaccines were released, I had COVID. And I tell you, this is exactly how you feel, fatigued and brain fogged. Nothing to do with vaccine, because I didn't have vaccine back then. Don't blame on vaccines. Come on. Come on. 2022, we're fighting against science as if the whole scientific community is plotting against us. How can different nations who do not get along be on the same page? You see how lacking the reasoning we are in this life? We need to use our reasoning. That's what Spiritism tells us. Use your reasoning, for goodness sakes. These countries don't get along, and they are all promoting vaccine. Why? Because, of course, that's the only solution. You think everybody is now friends and attacking humanity? Where? Where are they friends and attacking humanity as a whole? For goodness sakes. And scientists from different nations, they are scientists from different nations. They are not exactly getting together and plotting against nation. If we share misinformation, we are co-responsible for the people who died because they didn't get vaccinated. Any misinformation we share. But Vanessa, how do you know that what you know is not a misinformation? I think reasoning will tell us what makes it right and wrong. God would not give us a life without a reference. So here, he says to us, he's a brain, he is a medium who has a brain who is controlled by the spirit. He's linked to the spirit's imagination, and now he's going to write it. The problem is that he doesn't have discipline, no education for his mediumship. And on earth, this is something that is far from us. People don't know that they are mediums. They don't. Amid the excitement of alcohol and the smoke they are enjoying together, they intend to cause a dreadful scandal involving a family. On and on and on, he says, mediumistic faculties and collaboration from the spirit world are everywhere. Wherever there is thought, there are mental currents, and wherever there are mental currents, there is association. Every association entails interdependence and mutual influence. So we can see how necessary it is to live nobly, so that we can attract thoughts that ennoble us, as Daisy said. We won't be strong in our will if we don't do the good. We need to have noble thoughts, and noble thoughts are beyond the instinctive things. If animals care for their family, caring for our family may be noble, but very instinctive. Even animals do this. Watch the March of the Penguins. They live a harder life than us, just to sustain the new generation. One has to stay there, and the other has to go far away, and then exchange. It's harder for them than for us. They don't have daycares. They don't have schools for penguins. Say, yeah, go ahead, get your fish, and we'll be back. There's no market. There's no 7-Eleven for them. Okay, let's get a quick fish here. Fast food. They have to work hard. So caring for a family is the least we can do. It's noble, but it's not like, oh my gosh, caring for the universal family, that's noble. That's noble. Because you're going to help those you cannot get anything from them. Now we're talking about human level, not animal level. Human level, not even angel. Human. We care for one another. We go home and our thoughts are not only, how am I going to pay my bills next day, but how am I going to help others who do not know how to pay their bills too? Like I was showing to Virginia, our lives are so easy here. And every now and then I show to her, because we don't have this around. Look at this. It was in the news yesterday in Brazil. A girl, the father used to do car wash. He had to be basically outdoors all the time. And she had to study. Didn't have a desk at home. They built a paper desk, a cardboard desk, and that's where she studied every day in the hot weather of Brazil. And now she succeeded in getting into college. From childhood into college, studying at a cardboard desk. And I said, Virginia, we are ashamed that we have 10,000 desks, 10,000 tables, air conditioning, and we're not doing more to help these people. That would be ennobling. To wake up every day and go to sleep every day thinking, how can I help others? This is ennobling, friends. He says here, and that's how we're going to wrap up, because then we're going to be good mediums in the hands of the good spirits, because that's what they do 24/7. What do good spirits do? They don't play harps. They don't have banquets of food. They don't eat. They don't need our food. What do? They think of doing the good to others. If I wake up and go to sleep thinking of how to help others besides myself and my family, I am at another level. At the real human level, we left the animal kingdom. Because animals take care of themselves alone. To be human is to think. And there I am. Descartes. To think. And we're not there yet. Descartes has come. Our science is totally founded on his thinking, and yet we're not thinking. We're still instinctive. What is comfortable, what I like, what I want. That's what animals do. They do what they like, what they want, what is comfortable. And that's normal. But for humans, we need to do more. So he says, dignified work, goodness, fraternal understanding, serving our fellow beings, respecting nature, and prayer are the best means. Sorry, because I'm putting the book in front of our friends here. Sorry, friends. At least you're seeing a good book. It's a good book. Again, dignified work. To do the good, fraternal understanding, serving our fellow beings, respecting nature, prayer are the best means of assimilating the high principles of life, forgetting ourselves. It's good to forget ourselves and to think of other people's needs. Today, we're being called to regenerate our degenerated abilities. If in the past we have been there, done that, God bless that past, because God allowed us to make that choice. Today, we know better. From social media to everyday life, let us ennoble our lives to another level. because there is much more. So that's why we need to read these books, especially Andre Luiz books, the whole series, the 16 books, from Non Solar to When Life Goes On, including this book. Read it. Visualize yourself in the cases so we can learn. Andre Luiz teaches us who look at life with bifocal lenses, seeing the material life and the true life, which is the spiritual. Everywhere we go, we're not going to run away from the world. If we need to go to a restaurant, we will. If we need to go to a coffee shop, to a bar, we will. But what we're going to do there is completely different. We have to wrap up with Chico Xavier. He was the medium of these amazing messages. I didn't write this book. We're just repeating a little bit. Who wrote it? A man that is a model for us. He is the signature of the future human being on earth. He's ahead of us. He walked the talk. He followed the steps of the Christ. One day his father, who was at a different level, said, "You are man. You need to prove your masculinity. Come with me." And brought him to a house full of prostitutes. What did Chico Xavier do there? Oh, well, my father asked me to do it. I'll do it. No, he didn't challenge his father. He didn't refuse himself from entering it. When his father least expected, he was in a room full of prostitutes praying with them. Oh my Lord, Chico Xavier. Really? You skipped it all. He did. Food for thought. Being a good medium in the least expected places, in the most awkward situations. Being a good medium of God, of the good. What an invitation for us, huh? We are delighted. So now we're going to go to the next part. Since we are receiving so much from this information and the good spirits, let us keep on calibrating ourselves. If you're feeling like I'm feeling guilty, Vanessa, you have no idea, don't. You know why? Because guilt doesn't help us. God is with us all the time. When I made choices that were not right, where was God? With me. Giving me every single breath. And then I asked God, why did you allow me to make those choices? And we can certainly hear the answer. Because I knew that through those choices, you would also find me. Because when we're not allowed, God says, no, not here, not now. But when we're allowed, there's a lesson. If we humble ourselves, the best antidote to guilt is humility. Surrendering ourselves to God and saying, God, as I learn this lesson, strengthen me so I can take a new route. Bless the past. Because we had God with us there, though we were the prodigal child. Now we bless the past and say, today I decide otherwise. Are we still going to make mistakes? Yes. So what? We're learning. We're in the school of life. Let us then bless the past and move forward. As Emmanuel says all the time, press on, because the imperishable light of God awaits us. Let us go to the passages now, friends.
Welcome to the Virtual Passes Room. Emmanuel, the spirit mentor of Chico Xavier, once stated that thought is life. Thus, we can create the healing mental state right here and now. In preparation for the virtual passes, we would kindly recommend the following. Be certain that you have a real need to receive passes. Do not use the room simply out of curiosity. Casual visits to the room will negate its future benefits when needed. When using the room, have gratitude and show respect as you would when visiting a physical spiritist center. During the passes, silently evoke God's protection as well as Jesus. Also pray to your guardian angel. Concentrate on positive thoughts, thereby avoiding negative ones. Breathe deeply, slowly, calmly, and confidently. Always be ready to pray. Let us begin this passes session by praying as our guide and model Jesus Christ has taught us. Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Now let us feel that small points of suffering, bitterness, sadness, anger, deception disappear from your mind, not to return. Like aged leaves that are shed from trees, let go of those feelings no longer serve you. And gently, but most assuredly, discard them. Let the wind of life carry them so far away that they are unable to return and create their negative link. Little by little, your emotional tree sheds its negative feelings, becoming clean and ready for its renovation. Without the weight of those dead leaves, you feel lighter, and you're able to feel the gentle water of life now abundantly falling onto your physical body, spiritual body, and soul. This water cleans, disinfects, purifies, deconstructs, and tones all the cells of your body. Nothing can escape its renewing action. At the same time, it is cleaning and moisturizing your body. This crystalline liquid satiates your spirit, eliminating affliction, anxiety, and unrest. Now, within your heart, resides a sense of calmness, cleanness, and well-being. Then, the light of God emerges to warm and snuggle you, while carrying rays penetrate your whole body and tenderly embrace you like a maternal hug, which brings comfort and safety to your heart. At this moment, great love warms your heart and removes the coldness resulting from any affliction. Now, your mind contains only feelings of joy and confidence. You are at peace and enveloped by a protective warmth. The heart of life offers you perfumed flowers. Then, with grateful and happy soul, you gather their colorful petals that penetrate your whole being, restoring feelings and emotions of happiness, hope, faith, courage, and determination helping you to regain the willingness to live. In addition to the perfume and color, nature also shares with you the best it has to offer, an infinite capacity for restoring its sublime beauty, even when struck by evil that appears to enact its end. Divine hands full of light gently overflow and spill all over you like a golden waterfall of unspeakable and unknown essence. Little by little, your soul is impregnated with sweet happiness, allowing an inner renewal of the most noble and elevated purposes that are of progress and accomplishment. Showered by the sublime power, you deeply surrender to the donor of light, observing energy that now gives your life a new and blessed impulse. You called me, and here I am. What do you want from me today? What do you need? Ask my son. Ask my daughter. I am here to help. Now, ask your special request to Jesus, enumerating the problems and difficulties that afflict you. I listen to your request with love and attention. Now I count on your faith and trust in me to solve your problems. Go in peace. I am watching over you, and I will not lose sight of you. Believe in God, and also believe in me. I will be with you every day until the end. Be happy. Many blessings.
Let us continue with this visualization of the Christ in front of us, visualizing his smile, his illuminated hands, his loving care, enveloping us in renewed strength. We feel his sacred heart radiating light. We visualize our family members in our homes, enveloped in his compassionate love, rescuing everyone who is in need of help. Let us talk with Jesus and commit to being his mediums, thinking of the benefit of others, thinking of enveloping people whom we encounter in his love. Dear Master Jesus, we rejoice in your presence, expressing our gratitude for your loving treatment. May we be kinder, stronger, determined in the good, seeking others, the benefit of everyone. We visualize a shower of healing, light enveloping us, renewing ourselves completely, today and always. As we continue with the service of the passes, presentially and on the internet, let us help one another by visualizing a fall of healing light onto us, falls of healing waters that satiate our thirst for love, our hunger for companionship, flowers of healing offered by the good and loving spirits, the spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists who are here, delivering the medication to each one of us. We visualize drops of healing, healing molecules entering our minds and bodies, replenishing us. Life is good, and we are blessed children of God, and we rejoice in your presence, dear Lord, feeling the strengthening of ourselves, visualizing healing flowers in a vase in our homes, where the perfume of healing shall be emanated throughout this week, protecting us, strengthening each family member at every meal, being cooked and served with kindness and hope.
Feeling the shower of blessings descending upon us. We thank God for the gift of this life that has been prepared so lovingly, designed by the Creator of the universe in order for each and every one of us to progress. Dear loving God, we thank you for the treasure of divine light which each of these books bring to us. Dear loving God, we thank you for the master of all masters, doctors of all doctors, with whom we can count at all times. Dear loving God, we thank you for Chico Xavier, whose selflessness nourishes our souls daily. Dear loving God, we thank you for each day, for in each day you grant us the opportunity to love the universal family all the more. We thank you for every opportunity to open our hearts which you have granted us. And with this purpose in our hearts, we now pray for those who do not yet know you, for those who are thirsty for your love, for those who persecute you, dear God, thinking that they do not need you. For those who persecute the works of the good, may they feel enveloped by your love as heirs of your universe and as children of your love as well. May they feel their personal invitation to be embraced, loved, and understood by you. We pray for our brothers and sisters who are physically, emotionally, or spiritually ill, hoping and knowing that they will find healing in you. We pray for our brothers and sisters temporarily without shelter, knowing that they will find shelter in the heart of the Christ. And we pray for our brothers and sisters who suffer from addiction so they may be enveloped by your love. And praying also that our will is strengthened by you, dear Lord of life. We ask you for permission to say that we love you. And with much gratitude in our hearts and having received so much, we ask you for permission to finalize these prayerful moments, and so be it. Thank you, friends who join us. We hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful evening whenever you are. And we're going to see you back here at Kardec Radio tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have our online spiritual care and many more programs to come. Bye, friends.